Welcome back to the Foundation in C# course. We are currently in Module 9. In this lesson, we're going to review what we did in the WPF app. So back in the user interface design phase, we designed out what the WPF app would look like. So we kind of drew it out. And now we have put those forms into practice. We actually kind of expanded a little bit on how things looked and worked, but we have what we need for our MVP. We have the ability to search for a booked guest. We have the ability to check in that guest. So those are the things we needed to do in order to get this MVP off the ground. So that's our user interface for WPF. Okay. Now, that's not all that this should do eventually. There's a lot more that a hotel management system would do in a desktop app. But, and this leads into our pro tip for today, UI improvements go on the desired feature list if they aren't part of the MVP. Remember what our MVP was all about. It was about being able to search for guests and check them in. It had no other information we needed to do. So that's what we created, was just enough to satisfy that MVP. And now we can start adding features. But at this point, our application is actually ready to launch. Now it's probably ready to launch internally or to a select group of power users who are used to seeing bugs and other issues. This is just to get started and kind of build that feature list of things that need to be changed. If you're familiar with agile development, this is that feedback you need for the next cycle. Because you may look at this application and go, man, Tim, that is not a complete application. But actually it is. It does everything it needs to do. It's not pretty. It doesn't have a ton of features. It could be a lot better. But it does the job. And that's number one importance for building your application, is that it does the job. Part of doing a job is being able to publish your application. So we are at that point right now. Now, we're not going to stop at this point though. But I do want to kind of drive home the idea that when you have your feature list and when you're designing your application, you need to think about, keep that head up and think about what might come down the road and make sure you're working against best practices so that adding features does not require a complete application rewrite. So in the next lesson, we're going to talk about adding a different database type. So you've already seen this coming down the road a little bit, but we're going to work on SQLite and introducing that into our application instead of SQL. So we're not going to rip our application apart. Okay, we're just going to add in a new database type and swap out for SQL on the fly. So that's coming in the next section, but for now, our application is feature complete for an MVP launch. All right, so congratulations, you've got your application running. Now, let's take on the next version, like version 1.1, for example, and get a database put into it.